Hello and thanks for joining me on this ride. Now these are unfamiliar roads to me, they'll be familiar to some of you I'm sure. We've come off the A6070 which leads on to the A65 and that runs up from Carforth up eventually to Kendal, and we're cutting across country along these little lanes to get to the B road which runs from Kirby Lonsdale up to Kendal. In fact, we're going to join it halfway and run back down to Kirby Lonsdale. And while we're on this ride, I was going to chat about rose-tinted spectacles, which I'm afraid I am guilty of. As I'm guilty of many things, and another thing I'm guilty of is buying a motorcycle, never having had a demonstration, not even sat on one. So I came across this in a comment on the All Year Motorcyclist, and that's why I'm talking about rose-tinted spectacles, because I'm thinking back to the days when I used to ride to various race meetings, Brands Hatch, and over to Liddon Hill Circuit and across to Castle Combe. I used to watch road racing, short circuit racing, and the Isle of Man of course, which I visited. This is a lovely little lane, isn't it? It's a bit wider than I'm used to. You can actually see around the corners, see down the road, cut a bit faster. Yes, used to ride, and every weekend I think it was during the summer certainly. We used to start around about Easter, and often Easter was a bit early and we used to get lovely frosty mornings with mist across the hills from the south of England where I used to live. And yes, what was I? Started riding when I was 16, and I think the first time I rode to Brands Hatch would have been, got something a bit decent to ride rather than my Aero Colt. I got Royal Enfield, and that was the first bike I actually rode to Brands Hatch. It's pretty cool. And I used to know all the runners and riders back then. I don't know any of them now. I know John McGuinness, because he lived just around the corner from me, or he did do. He's up the road a bit now, but that was only recently I heard about him. Yes, we do change, don't we? Our interests change. But in those days, it all seemed so wonderful, except of course it wasn't, was it? It certainly wasn't for me. I was in a job which I didn't much care for. I thought it would be interesting to be a machinist and a fitter, and soon found out that the pressures of having to produce a lot of items in a very short time didn't really suit me. And I also wanted to do the designing rather than manufacturing, so eventually I got myself into a drawing office. But that's by the by. Yes, I had some good friends, and we were all motorcyclists together, and I'd started my interest in motorcycles when I was very, very young. So I did know a fair bit, I thought, until I actually got a motorcycle and started riding. I realised it was mainly theoretical. Riding one and reading about riding one are two different things. As are of course riding a motorcycle and having a demonstration, I'm sure. Now I realise I've never actually ridden a bike before I got it, and that may seem very strange, but all my bikes came to me somehow, and I got on with most of them. There was only really it was only the Triumph 350 that I got as a box and put together, and rode that for a while, and that blew its big ends out. Now we're on the B6254, as you see. I'm going to turn right. Now I've never been down this road, and this is I was reading the signpost here to make sure I was on the right road. Yeah, so we're going to nip down here, down to Kirby Lonsdale. So I never actually knew what these bikes were going to be like before I actually got on them and rode them. And actually all of them were fine, apart from probably the the 350 and then the 500 Triumph. I made it a bit bigger. I put some bigger barrels on. And yeah, it's only the bike itself was fine. It's said the gearbox wasn't brilliant. It was too big a jump from second to third gear on those bikes, as I recall. I can never get it to go in cleanly. Unlike this Royal Enfield Hunter, of course, which is a lovely gearbox. And yes, the meter that I bought, I had to order that before trying it because it was 6 months before they ever became available. And in fact I got that on the Hunter before they had a demo available to sit on. Well, I should probably have gone down and had a little sit at least, tried it for size, but I didn't, and I don't regret it. I have to say that this, for me, is the perfect machine. It just feels just right for me, so I'm very happy with it. Yes, the rose tinted spectacles of the past, and they were great days when I used to ride to Brands Hatch. I mean, I used to ride miles and miles on bikes in those days and never gave any problems with distance. It was about 90 miles to Brands Hatch from home, and lovely route, very quiet, just before the days of the ring roads around London, so you had to go through lots of little villages, which were great. And the racing was superb. I remember watching Mike Herwood many times, and we even had Giacomo Agostini race at Brands Hatch once, and I saw him in the Isle of Man. Unfortunately, Mike Herwood wasn't riding the year I went. I don't quite know why that was. Anyway, Agostini won, of course. But yes, there was tremendous. You could go around the paddock, Brands Hatch. Before, actually, we used to stand at Clearways and up at Druids, around Paddock Bend, and there was no real fencing to speak of. You could see the riders very easily. We used to go up for the club days as well as the more major events during winter. All names have gone now, of course. As we move on, that's one of the reasons why I don't buy Classic Motorcycle or Classic Bike magazine. As I read about them all dying off as they get older and older. Oh dear, it makes me feel old. So I have to get back on my Hunter again and make myself feel young again. It doesn't take more than a few moments. I'm back reliving my glorious youth, so to speak. Yes. So yes, when we read these reviews of these motorcycles before we buy, decide to have a demonstration at least, to feel very sensible, as I wasn't. It does take a while to get into the mindset of that reviewer, and so many of the reviews are just short. You know, oh, let's take it down the road, see what we think, and but you do have to, I think, understand the reviewer, and there are some excellent ones. Mr. TOIM, of course, is one of them, and we can trust what he says. And there are others as well, and some not so, and I think we know who they might be. But I certainly found the reviewers that I've enjoyed to be excellent. And that's one of the benefits, I suppose, of the digital age, that we have the ability to look at these things in this way. We used to go with the road tests, and they never really told you a great deal. They told you a huge amount about the engines and the gearboxes, and you know what the valve timings were, and whether it had a duplex chain or even a triplex chain in the case of the A65 BSA that I had. And it did mention vibration, but I think it glossed over that, because they always vibrate, unlike the Hunter, of course, and the Interceptor. They apparently, I don't know, but the Interceptor, they don't vibrate as much as some others. But Mr. TAYM had a lovely Norton Commando 850 class back that he had a look at Haywood's Motorcycles recently, and that's what set me off on these memories, of course, because I used to watch the John Player Norton team, and the girls used to come around trying to flog your cigarettes, which of course I wasn't interested in whatsoever, and nor my friends, apart from Arthur. He used to smoke, but he never bought John Player cigarettes, I don't think. Oh, they used to give out freebies, that's right. But yes, those girls, of course, are old ladies now, I should think. Yes, they are. But yes, Phil Reed and Peter Williams. Peter Williams, he was marvellous. So use that. Sorry, Mr. T-A-Y-M, I've used one of your words. I do apologise. But yes, it was marvellous days. I did enjoy that racing, and I saw Cal Rayborn. The Americans came over for an Anglo-American match, and Cal Rayborn came over with his Harley Davidson. Oh, what a rider he was, and what a machine that was! Absolutely wonderful. Sadly gone now, but yeah, that was a very special day watching that, as they all were, in fact. Yes, happy days to think back to those, and I've got the memories which are very clear to me. And in fact, Ainsworth Ryder mentioned this about wonderful days of the 60s and 70s, and I suppose we've all got our golden age, haven't we? For many it would have been the 50s, when you had full fairings on the bikes, before they realised that side winds used to push the bike way off line, and they deemed to be unsafe, and so we went to dolphin fairings. But yes, I used to enjoy those days very much. But we move on. We have to earn a living, unfortunately, and working the hours meant very little time for riding, and also, of course, other things get in the way. So some of us had to give up motorcycling altogether. However, we're back now and thoroughly enjoying it, and enjoying these rides down. Now down this road, which I think I rather like this. It runs all the way up to Kendal, to Oxenholme, where the railway station, up from Kirby Lonsdale, and I must say, it's riding in this direction, you get some lovely views. In fact, I think you probably would the other way too. So we'll do that another time. I wonder where we're coming into now. Are we coming into Kirby Lonsdale? Is this the outskirts? Probably not. No, we're a little way off yet. I have ridden up a very narrow road which runs sort of parallel with this one. It runs up past the River Loon, because the River Loon runs up this way. And that was another thing, actually, that the number of rivers up here, something I'm not used to from the south of England. We had the River Meon, which is a lovely little river. We've got the Arun, the Hamble, and the another one over the other side, the Itchen. But of course we've got so many more hills here, and higher rainfall. So yes, now I think we're coming into Kirby Lonsdale now. So we're just pootling, passing these cars. That's the only trouble with Kirby Lonsdale. A huge amount of cars always parked in this bit of road. Now from the A65, which runs through sort of Devil's Bridge way, it's not easy to find your way onto this little B road. I found I did try it once before, and I went round to Kirby Lonsdale a couple of times before I actually found it. It's not very well signposted. However, I think I'll be okay next time. I've come through a couple of times now. And actually, Kirby Lonsdale's a nice place to walk around. Some interesting buildings, and lovely views across from the high points across the Loon towards the fields. Here's the church. We're going to end our journey at the crossroad. Well, not cross, yeah, they are crossroads. And I'll take my leave of you. I hope you've enjoyed this little ride and chat. A little bit different from what I normally do. I do like to have a bit of variety. Yeah, lovely buildings. Reminds me a bit of like Sedbergh. Similar sort of feel to it. There's a cafe down there on the left which I've been in. I remember having pea and ham soup, which was very salty. I had to send it back. Couldn't eat it. Awful. It's difficult to get pea and ham soup that isn't salty. But that's by the by, of course. Here we are, there's the junction, and we'll say adieu and see you again next time, I hope. Thanks for watching. Here's a map. Shows you where we've been.